9 News Plus weather, sponsored by Carrier Colorado. The future of home comfort is here.
Happy Thursday, January the 26th. I'm meteorologist Chris Bianchi with a 9 News Plus update on Colorado's weather, which once again bringing us more snow, more cold. And if you think it's cold and snowy right now, just you wait until the weekend and especially into early next week. Meantime, you head up into the high country, and it is certainly snowing for us up at the Eisenhower-Johnson tunnels, where we've seen, generally speaking, along the I-70 corridor, a slushy inch or two of snow. You get into the northern mountains, the parks, the Medicine Bow, even the Elkhead Mountains and the Flat Tops, getting on some serious snowfall up into the high country. Meantime, for us here in the Denver area, nothing, not a zip zilch, nothing for us here in the Denver area. Sunny skies, blue skies overhead after a cloudy day yesterday. But if you look off there in the middle of your screen, you look off towards the mountains, there's that snowfall from the I-70 corridor on north. But we're getting those downsloping winds for us here in the Denver area. And those winds could turn a little bit on the gusty side for us today, especially in the foothills. So it does turn a bit windier as we head through the day part hours here. So the next couple of hours for friends in the foothills, again, Boulder, Highway 93, Golden, Morrison, the usual spots into the foothills. That's where it's going to turn notably windy for this afternoon. Could see some gusts in some localized areas up to 60 miles an hour. Our model's not doing a great job of picking up on it, but this is a mountain wave event, which means we could get some of those gusts up into the 60, maybe 65 mile an hour range for us into the foothills. So just careful if you're heading up through Berthoud Pass, Rocky Mountain National Park, and on North Estes Park. Those are the areas that will be at their windiest for us in the high country. Along the Front Range, the immediate urban corridor, I-25 on east, will probably be more on the breezy side, maybe 20 to 40 mile an hour gusts, depending on which side of 25 you're on. But I think we're mostly talking about some lighter wind gusts for us here in the Denver area. Again, the foothills, that's where it does turn windier. And I also suspect here, again, I know I'm showing you these wind gusts, you're probably not too impressed. I think the models are underdoing this a little bit. That's my guess at this point. We could be looking at some gusts maybe closer to that 60 mile an hour range in some localized areas, most of us notably lower than that. Winter storm warning for tonight through your Saturday evening for the parks, the Medicine Bow Ranges, and Rocky Mountain National Park, Rabbit Ears Pass. So again, Highway 40 is going to be a very, very tricky drive. In fact, I did that drive twice last week, and once I did it in that snow, and I'm just telling you what, Rabbit Ears Pass with that inch per hour snowfall, it is not fun. And also visibility is going to be really low if you're going over Rabbit Ears Pass, even with that snowfall, because of the wind. So those winds will make visibility basically nothing for us up there at Rabbit Ears Pass. So folks, get that drive done during the day part hours if you have to do it. And of course, all those winter weather driving precautions, snow tires, all that stuff, you've got to have that in place if you're going over Rabbit Ears for tonight. Even Berthoud Pass is going to be pretty slippery for us as well, and some pretty strong winds out that way as well. HD Doppler radar picking up on a lot of fresh snowpack for us here across the state. Notable snow hole there in Colorado Springs and Pueblo. That is thanks to downsloping winds off the Palmer Divide. So that's why Colorado Springs and Pueblo, that's why you're seeing kind of that blue on your screen. Otherwise, what you're seeing there, it's not cloud cover, it's snowpack, fresh snowpack for us across the state. And that does include our friends in the southeast corner of the state that got hit by some pretty decent snowfall over the weekend and earlier on this week. So the forecast, along the north of I-70, that's where that snow will be at its heaviest for our day today. And that's where it's also going to be heaviest for us for the next little while. This is a classic northwest flow setup. What that means is our winds are coming out of the north and the west. It's tapping into Pacific moisture, and that tends to really favor our northern mountains. So Steamboat Springs, I think you've had about a foot of snow in the last 24 hours at the mountain, at the ski resort. This is just the beginning. I think you're looking at, this could be a 1 to 2 foot kind of event for us up there at Steamboat Springs. And by the way, at the mountain, they're closing in on 300 inches worth of snowfall on the season. Might get there. Some of that snowfall for us there at Steamboat Springs could pile on up for the next couple of days, and that's why again, I think that travel will be especially tricky for us on Highway 40 north of I-70. But that snow continues basically nonstop for us in the northern mountains through at least the start of the weekend, and may continue through the majority of the upcoming weekend as well. So basically here, folks, if you're heading to the northern mountains, again, Winter Park, Steamboat Springs, even the I-70 mountains getting out on some of this as well. That snow machine is just not going to turn off until early next week. It is going to be snowing basically nonstop. Heaviest probably tonight and tomorrow for us into the northern high country. South of I-70, though, a little bit of a womp-womp situation for those of you in the San Juans and the Senora Cristos. Again, northwest flow. If you're joining us from the southern mountains, you know that that tends to not mean a lot of snow for you. All right, let's get to those temperatures where it is cold for us. Look at that in the Gunnison Valley. As usual, the cold spot in the state, the Gunnison River Valley. If you're unfamiliar, you're new to Colorado, Gunnison sits at the base of the, well, Gunnison River. And so there's a notable valley there. That colder air, it is denser, it is heavier, so it sinks down to those valley floors. That's why Gunnison so cold. Leadville, highest city in the United States, 10,152 feet at 10 degrees right now. And Denver, 27 degrees. This is enjoy it. Not too often I say enjoy the 27-degree weather, because if you think that's cold, just wait till next week. Good news is we do warm on up to about 37 degrees for us here in the Denver area today. One issue, though, is it is going to be notably windy this afternoon, especially west of I-25, as I mentioned. There's potential for a stray flurry into the foothills this afternoon, but I think that snow mainly stays on up into the high country for this afternoon and this evening. For today, temperatures 30s and 40s for us eastern plains, teens and 20s for those highs on up into the high country. For tonight, we drop down into the teens, mostly cloudy skies. We'll see those clouds kind of increase as we head through the overnight time frame. In fact, you may notice those clouds increase a little bit this afternoon here along the front range as well. Temperatures drop down to the mid-teens. It's fairly seasonable for this time of year, a little colder than average. Tomorrow, 42 degrees, probably our warmest day in at least a week for us. So, again, enjoy. I'm going for a run tomorrow morning. Tomorrow's the day to get that sort of outdoor stuff in, because come this weekend, you're going to want to be indoors. It is straight up soup weather for this weekend. But for tomorrow, 40s for us here on the eastern plains. This is actually fairly close to average. Still a little bit below average in terms of those temperatures for us, but still should be a bit better. Even Pueblo breaking 50 degrees. That'll feel nice compared to next week. 20s and 30s for us in the high country. But I mentioned that Arctic air arriving for next week. Polar vortex, it's a term you've probably heard before. It is a piece of Arctic air that will drop on down and drop those temperatures for the upcoming weekend early next week. So that 7-day forecast, temperatures, boy, just downward trend for us. We're going to be talking about overnight lows below zero for both Sunday morning and Monday morning. And right now it looks like that snowfall at this point looks like it'll be at its steadiest and or heaviest for Sunday night, Monday morning. I don't think we're talking about a ton of snowfall with this. When you got colder air, it can hold less moisture. So when we get these really cold air events, it's hard to get a ton of snow out of them. It can happen, but it's just not that easy to get that much snow out of it. Point being, probably get an inch or two of fluffy accumulation Sunday night and through your Monday, and then things start to warm on up for the middle to end part of next week. But in the meantime, those temperatures, January to date, average temperature is about 4 degrees below the month to date average. We're probably going to finish somewhere in that 5 to 6 degree month to date threshold once all is said and done. But it's also come with a lot of moisture. So far this month, we're at, this is already our 10th wettest January on record for us here in Denver. We'll probably finish somewhere in the top 8, top 7 once this week is done. So some good news in terms of the amount of moisture we picked up so far this month. Bad news is it's been really cold, and if you think it's cold now, again, it gets much colder for the end of the weekend, early next week. Dangerous cold for us with those temperatures dropping down into the teens for a high and overnight lows, probably well below zero for the early part of next week. Hopefully that sums it up for you. Again, a little bit of wind for today. So some pretty big mountain snowfall north of I-70, south of I-70. Not a lot of snow of which to speak of. And then as we head over the next few days, temperatures drop on down for us in the Denver area, with cold and snow returning for the back half of the upcoming weekend. Meteorologist Greg Perez sitting right over there just off screen here. He'll have an update for you coming up at 9 News at noon, and also at 2 o'clock here on 9 News Plus. And then Chief Meteorologist Kathy Sabins in at 4 and 5. Then Meteorologist Lauren Robinson's in at 6, 9, and 10 tonight on the 9 News Family Network. So we got our big team of meteorologists tracking all of this for you right here on 9 News, 9 News Plus. Once again, I'm meteorologist Chris Bianchi, and have a great rest of your Thursday.